Welcome, Call family. This is Tracy Allen, editor-in-chief of the Kansas City Call newspaper. I want to welcome you to this week's show of the Monday Nighters. Now, you're probably wondering, why a Monday Nighter show? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with we wanted to showcase men who have been together for 55 plus years, and all of it is centered around the game of football and sports. We wanted to let you all know that it was more than just sports. It's also about living life. So I want for the next 30 minutes or so, go ahead and grab a cup of coffee, a soda, maybe some chips, who knows. Sit back and let's enjoy what the Monday Nighters have to share with us. Not only about the Kansas City Chiefs, but also about life.
Hello there, and welcome to our little world of the Monday Night Footballers. We've been around since 1970, and some you'll hear today will be hearing that it even really was before that, because a bunch of guys used to get together in Kansas City, Missouri. Men, I want to emphasize that, got together and to talk about football, and it turned into not only a friendship, but it turned into a lifetime event, still lasting for now over 45 years, 55 years. And they're telling me here, talk louder, okay? And I don't know how to talk louder because I'm usually around a lot of people who not only talk a lot, but they, even with their expressions, they talk a lot. And I want to introduce people today who will give us kind of both ends of the spectrum. One will give us kind of the history. That's Dr. Charles Allen. And then, of course, a very controversial figure, Harry Seifert, who's good on statistics, but he's got his mind a little off-center, as you could say. He's smart, but he's kind of a different kind of a smart. He's a Raiders fan. But anyway, we'll hear more about that. But let's start right now with Dr. Charles Allen, and we're just going to be like we normally are. Dr. Allen, why don't you tell us about how all this got started at a neighborhood level that eventually turned into the Monday Night Footballers?
Well, Jim, if my memory serves me correctly, being the older man that I am, we started out getting together on Saturday afternoons to watch college football. And at that particular time, we were watching, I believe it was Jim Brown with Syracuse, I think. And eventually, we did this almost every week that at least college games were on. Then ultimately, we found that there would be also some games on Sunday, which would be professional ball. And again, as my memory serves me correctly, there was several guys like Isaac Gardner, Stuart Watson, myself, and Oscar Jamerson. And during that particular time, we simply decided that each week we'd watch pro ball and college ball. Now, Isaac Gardner's father was one who would always invite us to a wild game dinner. And during that time, we really a ball, eating and hitting each other with various quips and whatnot. And then we evolved into what's called the Monday Nighters because there was a new Monday Night Football beginning to start.
Telecast.
And that's how we actually got our name, or decided that that's what we would call ourselves, would be the Monday Night Footballers. And from that, that's where we are and where we were at that time.
Well, I want to tell everybody a little bit about what part you play, but let me get Harry in here first because I don't want to miss his part. But that was a good history, especially about the college football. And one of the biggest issues that we have faced through the years is getting the history right. And when Monday Night Footballers actually began, and I have qualified that many times in our writing of the history, that it really began long before the Chiefs came to town, but more importantly, long before Monday Night Football became in 1970. But that's a dated history. It's kind of like Christ in the biblical histories. There was a lot that preceded Christ, and with Monday Night Footballers, there was a lot of things that preceded Monday Night Football. Would that be accurate, Dr. Allen?
I would say so.
All right. And I also want to recognize you as being the most stable part of our Monday Night Footballer group. Now, if you've ever sat down with a bunch of men talking about football and sports, there has a lot of variation in it, but there has to be a central piece to it. And I want to recognize you as we begin to sort of predict the Chiefs and the outcomes and put them in the call paper, that you have never voted against the Chiefs in our history, and which may be anywhere from 55 to 75 years of history. So I think that's very notable to you, but it also explains why we depend on you a lot along the way. But before we get too much into that, let's go to Harry, which Harry is kind of a strange guy. He votes as his mind tells him to. and many times it can be favorable and many times it can be unfavorable. Now, some of us may call him wishy-washy, but for the most part, Harry, why don't you start off telling us why you are such a Raiders fan? As a matter of fact, you got that damn cap on now.
Just win, baby. I became a Raider fan like in 1963 when I heard Al Davis said, still sticks with me today. He says, like another great American, I have a dream that I'm going to have the winningest professional football team in the world. And he did. From 1963 to 1997, the Raiders won more games than any team in the NFL, and also had the highest winning percentage of any professional team, hockey, what they call ice hockey, whatever you want to call it, soccer, and then the Raiders, diversity, things about the Raiders. First to have a black coach, minority coach, then they had an Hispanic coach, and Tom Flores, Art Shell was the first black coach in pro football, and then the Raiders gave a lot of people second chances. And so,
What do you mean second chances? What the hell are you talking about?
a second chance.
A second chance at what?
Anything. You know, Al was a people's person. He didn't care if you were black, red, or anything, just as long as you could play football. And like the Chiefs, that's one thing I have about the Chiefs. The Raiders also took a lot of black college players. They recruited out of the black colleges in the South and the East. And the Chiefs did the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, we know sometimes we miss that fact that the AFL was really built a pipeline to players in the HBCUs that we now, And that pipeline is what drove or made them famous, and they don't ever say it. And that angers me greatly. And it kind of talks about my role a little bit in editing history, because they got it wrong. And I only put up with you because of the fact that you got a lot of history in you, but you also recognize things that were going on socially at the very same time football was being planned for Kansas City, Missouri. Would you agree with that? And Dr. Allen, let me just kind of move a little bit in here. The fact that you were young men at one time, and now we're all octogenarians and 90-year-olds and whatever, so we've seen a lot of time pass. Do you think we are doing a good job at editing history, editing social history, or rewriting it, or whatever? Do you think we're doing a good job?
I think we are, and I believe it is necessary because we really want to get it right. You know, sometimes things are put in that are not correct, but we want to get it right in terms of writing our and editing our history.
But who would ever thought, or at least the prevailing thought when Monday Night Football began, or you began talking in the neighborhood, young men, America had a dismal view of black men. They considered them as running away from their families and all the other ills, kill people, argue, whatever. Now, do you think we have done enough to change history?
I'm never sure that we've done enough. I think it's an ongoing situation.
Okay.
As we move forward, we may feel that we need to do a little bit more of the editing.
All right, let me get back to that Harry Cypher. That Harry Cypher. That Harry Cypher. Harry, when did you become such a good statistician, or where did you get that fantastic memory from? Where did you get it from? How'd you get it?
Well, back in the day, I had memory work in grade school, and it was verses from the Bible. And I just told the teacher I wasn't going to learn any Bible verses, So I had relatives who were teachers in the high school and the grade school there in Shawnee, Oklahoma. It was all black school back in the 50s and 60s. So my mother took my baseball bat and all that away from me. I had all kind of basketballs and all that, and she told me if I don't learn my memory work, I wouldn't play any more basketball and football and track. So one night I just got the book and learned all the Bible verses that I had neglected. So that's when I just started reading, because I didn't read that much before. We didn't get the newspaper, so I had a little job cutting yards. So I started having the newspaper, getting the newspaper, and just memorizing things, that was interesting to me. Because my mother told me, you know all about all these sports and all that stuff, but you don't know your homework.
So it started with the Bible. Now, we don't get that. We don't hear that on Monday night when we meet, or when we meet up at Bob's, not Bob's, but Club 6. We don't get that. We get the part of you that remembers everything everybody said, but most importantly, whether or not the Raiders won. So, that kind of explains that, or puts that in perspective.
Started, like when I was going to a black college. I was going to Zero State, Oklahoma State. So anyway, I didn't have enough money to go after I got hurt, so I went to Langston. I didn't want to go to Langston. I wanted to go with all my white friends who were going to Zero State, Oklahoma State.
You called it Zero State. Why did they call it Zero State?
Well, because only real college in Oklahoma is OU, so
The Sooners.
Boomer Sooners. I had a friend who played basketball there, so I always went with the Sooners. Plus, we had to go to all the games in Oklahoma State and Norman, over to Norman, Stillwater, Norman. Every weekend, the football team, basketball especially, had to go. And so all my rich friends were going to Zero State.
So how old is your ass? You must be older than what we think you are. How old are you?
What?
How old are you?
19.
No, you're you're well beyond
78.
78. So you're not quite an octogenarian yet, but you got a lot of history through reading and
Reading
whatever.
and just reading books. When I got to Langston, I knew nothing about black history. And it was kind of embarrassing, at a black college. And I didn't know anything. I was embarrassed. So I started going to the library every night just reading black history. So, I was sitting there, dudes were talking about Malcolm. Who the hell is Malcolm, Stokely. So I just started reading.
And so it comes out or manifests itself in Monday Night Football.
Every night, 6 o'clock, I'd go to the library and stay to 9. Even if I didn't have any homework, I'd just get papers and books and read.
Well, one of these times we're going to talk about our long association with the call. But I always point out, that you are first on the list as far as whatever we talk about because you bring a certain factual part to our history. And I want to make sure that we capture that today. But let me get back to Dr. Allen here for a second. Dr. Allen, you were just retired from the practice of dentistry, but you had a certain way or a certain closeness to each of the Monday Nighters that most people don't have. And tell us about that, because it was kind of hard to disagree with you, with your mouth being propped open and you digging with that drill in their mouth. But you seem to make a special effort to reach out to our health part of us. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, being as close as we are as a group, I felt that it was very, very important that I speak to you from a healthcare point of view. And since I had you at that situation where
Not only me,
but you could really never disagree because if so, I wouldn't really hurt you, but I'd make you know that that's not what I wanted. Okay. So, as the days went on, we decided we not only would, we had bucket lists, if I recall, and mine was to get rid of Alzheimer's disease. And I hope that, and immediately, but, hopefully not too far in the future, that will occur. I mean, with all of the new technology, which I don't know a whole lot about it, but AI and what is it?
Chat
GPT, all those things a little bit beyond me, but I do give it an effort of some sort.
Well,
And maybe in the near future, I'll sort of fall into line with some of my other octogenarians who feel the same way that I do.
Well, or at least we paint the past as well as somebody painting the future. Would that be accurate?
That would be accurate, and
Pay attention to your health.
well, and I think something that we haven't mentioned is that we've garnered the ears of younger people, men and young women. So, I think that this also is very, very important.
Well, like you made me think there a minute ago, because the most oft asked question of us, or at least of me, is why do you go to the clubs? And we started out I guess we kind of started out at 6902. And we became friends. Then way late we moved to Bob's, and way late we went back to Club 6. So, but I noticed people walking up to you and you answered their question, and that, tell me why they always gravitate to you is my question. Why do you think?
Well, many times when we were in those various venues, people other than Monday Nighters knew me as a dentist, and I would seemingly always be pointed out, and I didn't always want to be pointed out as somebody different, but just wanted to be one of the good old guys. And
You could relate.
well, I'm a little sensitive to being upfront with anything. I just, would like to just be one of the regulars.
Well, but you're not, because you got all the history in your mind. One day you talked to me about the Morrison Players. I had never heard that before. Tell us about the Morrison Players, because it illustrates how historically factual you are, in addition to being a retired dentist, in addition to being a scholar, in addition to being somebody in this community. Tell us about that, the Morrison.
Well, the Morrison
Players.
Players was a group of thespians.
Thespians. What the hell does that word mean?
Thespians relate to play acting. And as a very youngster in school, I belonged to the organization of the Morrison Players, and the Morrison Players was named after the originator, which was J. Oliver Morrison. And J. Oliver Morrison was quite a figure in dramatics, and I played or portrayed a part in a play called Grandma and the American Way. And I found out that my dad, who also was a member of the Morrison Players, the two of us in another different play had the same part. I mean, he was an attorney, and so was I, and that sort of really kind of bonded my dad and I together, because he had done it himself so many times that when I was rehearsing at Lincoln High School with the Morrison Players, my dad would finish his work, his day work, and I would be out in the audience, looking out into the audience, and all of a sudden somebody would say, "All right, Charles, stop. Now listen. When you do this, you do that. If you forget your lines, don't get messed up. Just speak, because the audience has no idea what you were about to say. So just say it. Say anything, and then whomever was to come in next would catch where you are and would know that, okay, he couldn't remember that exactly, but he said something. So now it's my cue to come
Back on track.
into this."
And you do that a lot in Monday Night Football today, so that's where that comes from. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, that's what you're saying. That's
Well-
what you're saying.
Well, let me pick up there and go back to what Harry was talking about. Harry, tell me why you just so recalcitrant. I guess the word. Why are you so stubborn? Why are you so committed to doing as you want to? Because like everybody else kind of falls into line, and you just kind of like being outsider, always voting against the Chiefs. It seems.
Always vote against the Chiefs.
I said it seems. It seems.
This week I won't vote against them.
Okay, well, but that's what gets people's interest. And I think you know that, and and you just kind of take advantage of that. Would that be accurate?
No,
Okay, tell me what is accurate.
I just look at the facts. Like whatever's wrong with the Chiefs, I try to pick it up. I look at the facts. The D-backs not doing this, and like Dale Carter was here, he'd get up in Tim Brown's face, and
Oh boy,
couldn't do that.
When have I heard that name, Dale Carter? Well, he was a rebel if there ever was one to come to Kansas City. Everybody else, all the other HBCU players came and tried to blend in and try to be nice, but that Dale Carter, he just went his own way. He was his own person, and that's kind of the way you are too, Harry.
Not really. Look at
Well,
the facts, and
There was a compliment in there somewhere.
thank you.
But you were talking about Zero State there for a second, and I don't want to miss that. But you also went to Langston at HBCU for your education, and one of the biggest misnomers, and this goes for you too, Dr. Allen, misnomers about the Monday Night Footballers is that for the most part it's a bunch of educators, and you seem to fit the mold of being factually correct, but also having a good educational background. Tell us a little bit about you kind of mentioned going to Langston, but in HBCUs, because that's about the only place you could have gone at the time. Is that right? 3 minutes, 4 minutes? Okay, good. Go ahead. Tell us.
I had a scholarship to Zero State, and that's where I wanted to go. I didn't know this at the time, but most of my relatives had gone to Langston. No one ever told me that. My sister, she's 4 years older, she'd gone to Langston, and I didn't know why. My uncles, my aunties, I had an uncle who really played with the Globetrotters, had gone to Langston, played with Marcus Haynes, 1947. I didn't know this. My sister never told me this. So I was just following the crowd. All my friends, I didn't have any really black friends in high school. I got put out of school.
So you
Schools
didn't
were
think you
integrated.
was black?
Huh?
Is that what you're telling me?
What?
You didn't think you was black?
It wasn't anybody in school.
Oh, okay.
They integrated the schools. I had to go to the white school, and most of the black kids got put out of school because they wouldn't follow directions, There had a lot of rules at the white school. And they got put out. So even from 6 years old, we had little league teams, and we played against the white team. So I got to know all these guys, when I got to junior high school and all that. And there wasn't anyone there. I had to walk to school by myself most of the time, and had to walk to school. Once I got to school, I could ride the bus, the Greyhound bus on the athletic teams, but I couldn't ride the yellow bus. So I just
And you was down there in Oklahoma?
right.
What was the name of the place you was from?
Shawnee.
Shawnee.
It was Zero State, Stillwater, Norman. So in basketball, one weekend we'd go to Stillwater, Gallagher Hall, watch the Cowboys. The next week we go to Norman,
And you say we? Who is that we?
the basketball team, the white basketball team. It was a couple of black guys made the team. And so I just went to Langston. My sister, she was in the band, so that's where I met Jerry Price at Langston, 1963. He was grabbed my sister's bags and all that stuff, So that's when I met Jerry Price, the killer.
Okay, who is a current Monday Night Footballer
Right.
as well. Well, we've about run out of time here, and we want to make sure that we get everything in. But we ought to make this a growing conversation, because the more we meet, the more we grow. But more importantly, we correct the history that's been miswritten about us. And that's what we try to do. Who would ever know that you took the Bible and sort of became a good memory expert and then become a damn Raiders fan in the process? But Dr. Allen, he mentioned about being in the Marston players. Who would have thought his family was a bunch of thespians, if you must? I mean, I think they would have probably said they would have been a bunch of thieves, but lesbians, and that even existed at the time it was. So he brings a part of history. And I think that's what we're trying to do in Monday Night Football. So stay tuned. We got more to talk about. And Trevor, we're going to talk directly to you because you are who we need to be talking to. And so, in time. With that, we'll sign off here and be back next time. And most importantly, I want to be beholden and thankful to the call for giving us this opportunity to be heard and to re-edit history. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I want to thank you all for joining the Monday Nighters and myself in this week's show. I hope and I pray you gained something more than just about the football score, the Chiefs, the Royals, our local college sports teams. I hope you learned a little bit more about life, about community. My hope is that each one of you, each time you visit and listen to the show, learn what it means to spread love. So spread love, my people. Spread love. And we look forward to seeing you at our next show of Monday Nighters.